it's been going on for the last 20 years, I would say, that we've been seeing an increasing politicization of the news and a splitting into various camps. And again, I think this is related to the exponential growth of the internet. And there's been a lot of discussion about people living in bubbles and silos and how we tend to gravitate toward other groups of people who think the way we do, and we stop paying so much attention to alternative sources of information. And I think that's hugely dangerous. And it seems to me that it's been intensifying over the past few years, that people are now more opinionated and more committed to a set of ideas than they were 10, 15 years ago, when most of us were exposed to a far wider range of ideas and ways of looking at the world. So it's something to guard against. I think we need to learn to handle the internet and social media and the ways we get our information. Media literacy, and I'm glad to see that there's a lot more attention being paid to this, teaching children how to assess the quality and the source of the information they're getting.
When we talk about political influence, actually we are only, in my experience, in the projects that I've worked on, in the situations that I've seen in different countries, we talk actually about a superficial layer of influence which actually roots more deeply back into other spheres of influence. And let me explain this. Basically, political influence, the people, there are lots of people out there that by now have developed growing distrust towards traditional media, whether they are printed or broadcast or the online version of both. And the reason that they give is that they are extremely politicized in their view. So there is major awareness of the problem. What they don't seem to know, though, when questioned about who they think, why they think these media are politicized and who owns them, or why they support one political party rather than another, then the penny drops. That is, there is no awareness of who actually controls, which are the financial and economic powers that either own or control via funding agreements or voting pacts, all sorts of mechanisms that somehow have an impact on the media, and that ultimately condition also the political response.
We live in a world where it's very good journalism outside in the world, even in Hungary. Everything is written down. Every corruption is revealed and covered by exceptional journalists in Hungary. But if the other institutions don't work in that way that we think that they should work, the prosecution or the media authority, we are very useless.
What you're doing is you're training a group of people who, I believe, will be able to provide increasingly good and reliable information in the years to come. And I tell people all the time, don't despair. Things are bad right now, but I first went to Georgia in 2003, right before the Rose Revolution, when the situation was extremely difficult. And I have seen over the intervening years a tremendous growth in Georgia. And it came out of nowhere. Nobody expected that revolution to happen. So it's convinced me that you never know when the turning point comes in a country. And the best you can do is to educate people, train them, show them best practices, give them the tools, the physical tools like cameras and tape recorders and cameras, and the tools that a journalist needs are not very expensive, thank God. Give them the education and the tools they need, and show them what the best practices are, and they will come through for you, which I find very encouraging.
There is and always will be demand for quality journalism in Hungary and basically basically everywhere, everywhere in the world. People want and need information about, information with which they can use to make decisions about who should govern them and how else they should live their lives.